Hi, everybody. Welcome to the King and Weber podcast. It's me, Matt Graham, here, and I'm here with my very special guest today, Mr. David Connolly. Welcome, David.
Thank you so much.
So glad you could come here today for a little interview so we could talk a little bit. Very excited about this because I'm a huge Drayton Festival Theater fan and Drayton Entertainment fan. And for those who don't know, David is the new artistic director of Drayton Entertainment.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what the card says. Yep.
Now, for those of you who have been living under a rock in the Waterloo region for the last 30 years, I guess I was 36 years, tell everybody a little bit about Drayton Entertainment.
Sure. So Alex Mustakis is our CEO and founder, and was artistic director for 36 years.
And very well known in this community. Did a great job.
Very well known, and is still with us as CEO and founder. So he's very much present, and we're in a transition now of him kind of teaching me the artistic director ropes. So I'm very, very grateful that I don't have to just, take it over immediately. There's lots of guardrails up, and his incredible vision and leadership will still be present for many years. But to answer your question, 36 years ago, he was invited. He was a performer, and then he went away to business school in London, England, and got those degrees and came back home here to Kitchener-Waterloo and was invited to look at location in Drayton, Ontario.
For those who don't know, Drayton is about the size of a thumbnail.
It is. Yeah, it has at the time it had one stop sign. And there's a beautiful vaudeville house there. There's a beautiful, as were popular back, in the 20s and time of vaudeville, they would build these beautiful opera houses connected to the city halls. And so there's one in Petrolia. There's lots of great examples all over Ontario of these incredible theaters. And so this one had been abandoned and for many years and used by local community groups and things. And then Alex was invited by some members of the town council, and Neil Aitchison got involved around this time. And so Alex went to look at it and saw the potential of what the space could be if they renovated it. And a much longer, more heartwarming story made short is that together with community members, they resurrected that opera
The
house.
entire village got together to make sure that this theater became successful.
Yeah.
And everybody hustled. Everybody did their part to make sure that happened.
Yeah.
And it's still a success to this day.
It is.
Given the consideration that it is an extremely small village.
Yep.
But they punch over their weight, way beyond their weight.
They did, and they kind of created the framework of what Drayton Entertainment has become. Today, we operate 7 theaters across the province, and the foundation of that very first season is still with us, of community, of making sure that families are engaged and involved and welcome and can afford it, and that from his very first show and his very first season, the caliber of the entertainment was excellent. And so we maintain that, and we maintain our connection to our community in the same way that very first season taught us is a map to success.
And what I have always admired since I've ever met Alex or attended any Drayton event, which I've had it, I think it's probably 15 years I've since I first met Alex and attended a Drayton event, was that feeling of community, that sense that everyone was working together to produce something beautiful, and the sense of hustle and hard work. I was always impressed by that, and I still see it today. Like I think of Drayton as like Drayton Entertainment is the hardest working theater company in Canada.
Wow.
The James Brown of Canada.
That's funny.
And I know that you're new to this role of artistic director, but I took some time to review your resume, and I think that you really fit that hustler culture. When I look at the things, I'm just going to name a few things. I don't have an hour to go through your whole resume, but I just want to bring attention to anybody who wonders about David's experience. and what qualifies him to become artistic director for this organization. Let's just see. So you started on Broadway, or not started, but you
I
acted
was
and
on
danced on
Broadway.
Broadway, correct?
Yep.
Beautiful. You have served as an adjunct professor at Sheridan College,
Lots of colleges, including
Western
Sheridan.
University,
Yep.
Dartmouth.
Yep.
You have worked as a choreographer and dancer with the likes of Katy Perry, Andrew Lloyd Webber Productions, Elton John.
Yeah.
These are all truth.
Yeah. Yep.
And when you weren't, and beyond being that, you've been a director of several shows. I don't even know how many at this point.
Yep.
How many shows have you directed, do you think?
We're headed towards 50.
So you've directed 50 plays.
Yeah.
And before taking over as artistic director, you've been a long member of Drayton Entertainment, and you run their youth academy.
Yes. Yes.
So
All of that is true.
that is the very definition. That's the very definition of hustler, is what I would say.
Well,
It never appears to me when I read a resume like that, that tells me this guy has never sat back and waited for things to come to him. He has constantly gone out and found more work and continues to work hard daily.
when you love what you do as much as I do and the people at Drayton Entertainment do, it may through one lens look like hustle, and through my lens is more gratitude. It's just like the fact that I get to do what I love with people that I really respect and admire, and can be fueled by the fact that it's all making a difference. The school we can talk about in detail a little later, but when I look at the ripple effect of live entertainment, of how that helps a community, it helps, and it is in itself an inclusive thing, right? Like we all go to the theater from different walks of life. We sit in the dark as strangers together. We agree as strangers to give this thing a shot.
To suspend reality.
Right. And to let's see if we can agree on this thing. We bought a ticket. Let's take the ride. And then together with these strangers, you're clapping and laughing, singing along, or sometimes crying, or whatever that communal experience is that is getting harder and harder to find these days, that I get to be a part of that. I get to be one link in the chain of the village that creates an experience where people leave, we hope, having feeling like we've valued their most valuable resource, which is time, right? So
They've paid their money, they've bought their ticket.
yeah, and we want them to feel like we've honored that commitment of time, right? Because it's so precious. And so whatever the goal of that particular live entertainment is, it's to entertain, it's to inspire, it's to inform, but that the conversation in the car on the way home, that it goes beyond the time where the cast bows, right? And it can last generations. You know, we're making family memories in our family shows that hopefully are, you know, being talked about for Christmases to come.
Yeah.
All of that. So
I mean, to make it very personal, I vividly remember the first time my mom took me to what was called the Grand Bend Playhouse at that time. Now the Huron Country. Well, maybe it was always called the Huron Country Playhouse, but we called it the Grand Bend Playhouse.
Yeah.
But taking me there to watch Little Orphan Annie
amazing
for the first time, and I think I'm like, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, but I can still remember that today.
Yeah.
And these are the memories that you get to create.
Yeah.
I have some friends that I see regularly that are police officers. And the thing that I always hear from a police officer is, you know, nobody calls us on their best day. Nobody calls us because they're having such a good time. They always have to see people at their worst.
Yeah.
Whereas for someone like you, I never thought about it, but for someone like yourself, generally speaking, if somebody's coming to the theater, they didn't come to be miserable.
Yeah.
Right? They came for a good time. They're trying to bring the right attitude.
Yeah.
And then you get to live up to the expectation, hopefully.
Yep. And let it reverberate, you know, through the conversation in the car on the way home and the water cooler the next day, and whatever impact that has on our community and the families who trust us, feels really good. And so it's sometimes, as you read that, like it can be looked at as hustle, but when you feel like you're making a difference, I think, and you're of service, then it's all possible. Anything is possible.
Okay. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
The company's doing a great job. That's a hell of a resume.
Oh, thanks.
And I'm going to get a little personal here just because I've heard your story before, but I want the people listening to get a chance to know who you are too. You weren't dealt the best set of cards to start your life off.
Again, it's all perspective.
I agree.
All perspective. So I was born with a congenital defect, as they called it then. They don't call it that anymore. There was, for no reason that anyone could identify, my lower legs were useless. I couldn't weight bear on them. And so they had to figure that out. I was in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and the medical community there was kind of stumped. This was the late 60s, and there wasn't a lot of rapid information sharing like there is today, obviously. And so that community was stumped about what to do with me. We went as far as Halifax to medical professionals there. And by we, I mean my mother and I had very little to do with it. But she was looking for solutions and more opportunities for me than just having me be in a wheelchair, which is what the medical community was telling her to do, because I couldn't walk. And so she, when I was about 6 months old, was at a gas station in Sydney. She wouldn't ever let her family see her cry. So she was crying at the gas station. And the man who owned the gas station asked her if she was okay. She said, "No, I'm not okay. My kid is in turmoil and I don't know what to do about it." And he said, "Have you ever heard of the Shriners?" And so he was a Shriner. And very soon after that brought me to Montreal, to the Shriners Hospital in Montreal, which is the Canadian...
massive facility, right?
Massive. And we ended up there, and the medical professionals there saw hope. They said, "Oh, we've had some experience in what this might be, but we can't take David because he's too young, and we don't take infants. We only take from, at the time, toddlers, age 4 and older." But my mother, some have called her intrepid, said, "Well, I'm not leaving," and just camped out in the waiting room of the hospital until someone came up with a viable solution. And sure enough, because the Shriners, being who they are, made some phone calls, I guess. I don't know how it happened. But they converted a broom closet into a nursery for me. Somebody went out and bought a crib, and I was admitted that week and spent the first 5 years of my life there in the hospital as they did all of the medical procedures that were necessary. 5 years. Well, 4.5. Probably.
Regardless,
I was
we're
five,
not talking 5 days or 5 weeks of treatment.
Yeah.
5 years of your life.
Yeah, I was 5 when I came home back to Sydney, and I was both of my legs had been amputated by then, and I had been fitted with prosthetic legs, and I walked off the plane when I was 5 back to my home in Sydney. So that's the medical miracle story. I tell it because I owe so much to the medical professionals and to the Shriners and ultimately to the War Amps once I moved here to Ontario. So I have a lot of people to thank for that. I wasn't very instrumental in the medical side of all of those things. But I did learn resilience and perseverance, and that when you have a choice between approaching something through the lens of positivity or negativity, that positivity is going to get you there faster. Like you'll get there through negativity, and you can have people co-sign all of the negative storyline, or you can just choose to look at the silver lining, look to the glass half full, whatever the metaphors are, and that just gets you there faster.
An amazing story. Tony Robbins is one of my the people I love. I love to listen to his stuff. And Tony always says, "What's wrong is always available."
I love it. Yeah.
But so is what's right.
Yeah.
And so we can. It all depends on our perspective and how we look at it. And you were able to take what some would consider a disability, but your refusal to look at it like that has led you all the way to Broadway as a dancer. So. And I just think it's such an inspiring story for anyone out there that this is the most powerful muscle that we have right here. It's our brain. It's the way we view things. And you didn't let anything hold you back. and you've lived such a full life because of it. I just think it's really incredible.
Oh, that's
and I want everybody to know that. I want people to know your resume because I don't want anybody thinking, well, what happened to Alex? That's the last.
Oh, Alex isn't going anywhere. Nobody has to worry about Alex going anywhere. No, he's here to stay.
Let's talk a little bit about the title artistic director. What does that entail? To be the artistic director of a theater company, what does that mean?
Well, in our case, Alex is kind of a unicorn in the world of artistic directors because he was also the founder and the CEO, and so the things on his plate were massive. And I don't know any other artistic leader or leader period that would have that many daily responsibilities. Like his inbox is jaw-dropping, and so in this new leadership format, the artistic director will lead artistic vision ultimately. Right now, we're doing it very much in tandem with Alex, still very much in the picture. But ultimately, I think the plan is that the artistic director won't be responsible for the financial pieces that Alex was. That will become a different person's role. But that the artistic director will... And that means choosing the programming for the season. We're doing 21 shows this year. And so someone has to choose those wisely and in the spirit of what Drayton has always provided, which is a very well-rounded, full scope of possibilities for people. If you don't like this, you'll like this. If you don't want a drama, you want a comedy. If you don't want a big musical, you want a little musical. You want a review show. So there's always going to be a wonderful mix of opportunities for our patrons. And so figuring that out is a huge puzzle because it's not, a lot of people don't understand that it's not just carte blanche. We just don't get to go pick every show we want. We have to apply for rights. And so every show has a rights holder. And then depending on where that show is in its trajectory, it can be very difficult. So if a show is new, just closed on Broadway, then it becomes complicated about who gets it and the geography around if it's going on tour or not. If it goes to tour in Toronto, then we can't have access to it because the audiences will conflict. So it's a big puzzle.
So for the average person out there that doesn't quite understand the business of theater, the money in theater is made by selling the rights to your script. Am I right in saying
for
that?
the creators?
For the
yes.
creators. So
yeah.
And for the people that put on a production. So for example, Phantom of the Opera was a famous one in Toronto. It ran for what, a decade? I don't even know how long it ran.
Yeah, long time.
But the money that, for every Phantom that exists, there's 20 plays that fail, right? Or maybe 100.
At least 20, yeah.
Maybe 100 Broadway productions that fail.
Yeah.
And they all cost millions of dollars to create in the first place.
Up to 40 these days.
40 million to create a Broadway style production.
Yeah.
Therefore, the way that the investors eventually make their money back is that the rights of this play can be sold for a long period of time.
That's right. So it's a residual.
Yeah.
So once it closes, most commercial titles will go to Broadway, then it will close on Broadway, and then it will become available to regional theaters and to high schools, and it trickles down to so that is where they make their money. They have a certain percentage of the box office that they earn when anyone else does a production of that title.
So I'm trying to think of a show. So Oklahoma.
Okay.
I was thinking of Oklahoma.
Okay.
Oklahoma was written in the 1940s.
Late 40s. Yep.
Yeah. Still being produced all over the world. Someone is still getting a royalty check.
Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Rodgers and Hammerstein still receiving, their families are still receiving royalty checks every time that play gets put on.
Yep.
Now, the risk you take as an investor is, like I said, for every Oklahoma, you've got 100 that do nothing.
That's exactly right.
You've got famously in Ontario, I think of Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
There was millions of dollars that was invested into that production to try to convert the book from a film into a theatrical production.
Yeah.
And it just never translated.
They did their best.
They really did.
Yeah.
Spider-Man on Broadway would be another one I can think of,
Yeah. Yeah.
which just couldn't translate onto the stage.
There's a lot of science and a lot of luck. Like there's a lot of like even geniuses can get together who have had bona fide smash global hits. Same team comes together, does their best to make something happen, and then for a million reasons, because it's always, you know, a 7-layer cake
Yeah.
of impact. So yeah, some hit and some miss.
Well, that's, in my opinion, that's business and entrepreneurship as a whole.
Exactly right.
For every business that's successful, there's 100 that fail.
Yep.
You have to just be willing to accept failure.
That's right, and try again. Just
Yeah.
get back on the horse.
You can't take it personally. You can't be like, well, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
It's just some hit, some don't.
Yeah.
Can you handle? Not everybody can handle that bomb. That's the truth.
You need a thick skin for sure.
Now, you're the new artistic director. You're not just in charge of one theater, but like you said, you're in charge of 7 theaters. Is this a common thing?
No, it is completely unique to our country. Alex ingeniously developed when he started adding theaters to the family of theaters. He started to replicate the size and shape of the stages so that he can tour his shows internally. And so where other theaters may be doing co-productions with other theaters across the country or across the province, we're kind of co-producing with ourselves. And so what that does is that it allows us to amortize the pre-production cost, because when you're putting a musical on, we're about to do Crazy for You, the Gershwin musical. And so whether that plays 1 theater or 4 theaters, it's the same cost.
The cost of the set is exactly the same.
The set, the costumes, the band, the arrangements, the rights, like that, like all of that is going to, not the rights, but everything, all the hard costs pre-production, can be amortized the longer that show plays. And so our Panto this year, which is Cinderella, is playing in 3 theaters. And Mamma Mia, when we did that last, played in 4 theaters. And so it's just a really wise businessman, Alex is.
I think it's a very brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Really, to make sure, because like if the stage in Penetang is the same size as the stage in Grand Bend, is the same size as the stage in St. Jacobs,
Yeah.
you can save on set costs massively.
Well, sets and costumes and cast it's a benefit of the cast to the cast, because they get a certain number of weeks of work over the course of the year. And so it's just a really smart, very unique theater model that he has perfected. And then just before COVID, he decided, because he has offered a new theater every 6 months or so, someone will say, come take this theater, make it work. But he decided about 5 years ago to expand by opening the academy. So rather than get another school, he wanted to expand Drayton, and decided to do that by creating this brick and mortar Drayton Entertainment Youth Academy, it's called. So it lives in Waterloo and is thriving. So
Yeah, you guys have done a great job. How many years has it been open now?
3.
So for 3 years, the Drayton Youth Academy has been available to regional youth, ages from
from 17 months, because we have a preschool program.
Wow.
To seniors, lots
the way
of
to
seniors classes. Yeah.
When you say senior, it's a youth academy. So seniors in high school or senior
no,
citizens?
senior citizens.
So it's
Yeah.
no longer a youth academy.
Well, our focus is youth, certainly. And it was, again, an effort to a couple goals in mind. One is to kind of bridge the gap of arts education that is disappearing from our school systems. And so that is rapidly declining. I don't know how much you know about high schools in the area, in Ontario, but their arts programming is not funded. And so it's just completely disappearing. Local high schools, are no longer doing musicals, are no longer doing plays. And so we're looking to bridge that gap to make sure that those kids find a home. And we're also really strong believers in the power of arts education and what it can do for for a young person who, because like us, like Alex was a theater kid, I was a theater kid, I was at Forest Heights, he was at Eastwood, and it's where we found our purpose, so we want to make sure that we're providing that to kids, and we're doing it by dismantling the barriers that used to exist there.
Okay. I have had two boys go through the secondary school system, neither of which are at all interested at all in the arts, sadly. I personally was very involved in the arts when I was in high school, so I didn't realize that. Like, I have. Thank God for, remember OAC credits that we used to have? Thank God for OAC drama. It got me into university. I got a 95 in OAC drama.
Good for you. The average. That's awesome.
That was back in the day.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school outside of London in a place called Regina Mundi College.
Okay.
It's and we had a really good drama program at our school at the time.
Great.
But I didn't realize that it had been declining because, like I said, my kids are not involved in the arts at all, so I don't get a lot of updates.
Yeah. Well, it's happening, and the future isn't bright for support in arts education. So we offer weekly classes, summer camps, March break camps, PD days. We have just, over the course of the 3 years, just expanded our offerings. We do a high school project, which is where we mount a professional musical with 50 local high school kids who participate 100% free of charge, and just to bring them together to be big fish in a bigger pond. And so we have 35 kids on stage, 15 kids backstage, who do a 2-week run at one of our theaters. This year we're doing Mean Girls. It starts auditions tomorrow, in fact.
Auditions are now open. Well, by the time this airs, auditions will be open for Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to come out.
So we were doing all of that, and the parents, and we listened closely to our families about what they want and need, and the parents were upset. They were like, why are the kids having all the fun? This isn't fair. And so we started adult classes, which have flourished, and a set of wellness classes that we call Show Tunes Sweat and Show Tunes Stretch, where you basically do Zumba, but to show tunes. So we've got on a Saturday, and we started a preschool program called the Caterpillar program. And so on a Saturday, you can be in the building. There'll be up to 60, 70 people from age 17 months to, I think our oldest right now is 64, sweating it out to some great show tunes. So it's a wonderful hub that is serving the whole province, because we're doing programming in all of our theaters. So it's not just for Waterloo Region, it's for Midland and Grand Band and Drayton and Cambridge. And so we just finished March break camps for 160 kids in 6 locations. So it's the dream is coming true slowly but surely, with Alex's vision to expand and drill back down into the community that made Drayton what it is.
Beautiful. I love it. I've toured the facility. I know it. It also works as a great warehouse for all of your sound sets or stuff.
Yeah, next door is our production facility. So the Hefner family is responsible for donating the space to us, our 10,000 square feet.
Big thanks to the Hefner family. A little plug there.
Thank you, Hefner.
You're part of the family at Hefner Toyota.
Thank you, Hefner family. So yes, half of the building is the academy, and the other half is our production center, where we build and design and paint all of our sets.
And how many students are in the academy enrolled right now?
350.
350. Amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible.
And it's like creating your own farm system. I think the athletic model, you look at the biggest clubs, especially in Europe, in terms of like soccer, they all have youth academies now, like Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal. They bring in kids as early as 12, and they put them through the youth academy, and the hope is that not every single child, but everyone will have fun and learn and become a better person, and some will become stars for their organization.
We just this year were able to hire one of our youth academy kids in a professional production. So it's finally, it's our first.
It was only 3 years. That's really incredible.
Well, she joined us in the high school project. She was in Legally Blonde, and then last year she was in the high school project of Footloose, and so it was finally time for her to, take her shot at the big leagues, and she won. So
that's great.
She'll be in Shrek this year. Yeah.
Shrek.
Yep.
That's a summer performance, or is that?
Shrek plays in the summer and at Christmas, so it's two different theaters.
And is this an original Drayton production, or is this a creation of someone else that's you guys have?
Well,
both
the
directed?
musical Shrek is.
I didn't know there was a musical.
Oh,
Shrek.
okay.
Please forgive me.
Well, I'll be there on opening night. Yep, Shrek has a long history with Broadway, and we've never done it, and so we're finally doing Shrek.
Well, now I'm officially embarrassed. I had no idea.
No, it's all good. You can't know everything.
Let's talk a little bit about the summer lineup. So, for the summer of 2025, we've got all your theaters are open for the summer. Not everything is fully is year round, but in the summer, Penetang opens up, Huron Country Playhouse and Grand Bend opens up. You said Midland, I say Penetang. Sorry.
Yep, it is in Penetang.
What is it called though? It's called
The King's Wharf Theater.
The King's Wharf Theater.
Yeah.
Hamilton Family Theater in Cambridge is always open.
We yes, what you're saying is true. We graduate. Our openings are gradual. We're about to open our first show at the St. Jacob's Country Playhouse. It's called Over the River and Through the Woods. It's a wonderful play that Alex is directing, in fact, with a wonderful history of when we did it 25 years ago. He was in it, and it's where he met Jackie. His
wow.
wife. Yeah. So it's really magical and great. So it's back. And so it will open, and then about every week another cast arrives. So it's now that we've kind of unboxed the season, that cast was first, and next week Crazy for You cast arrives, and then the next week two more casts will arrive. And so it looks like that. It's opens kind of gradually, and then a whole bunch of things open, and we're full tilt for the summer. All 7 stages are running full tilt, and then
Absolute mayhem.
it chaos, and then it gradually kind of closes off. Most of the summer theaters will close on Labor Day, but then we have some residual. Of course, Cambridge stays open. The Playhouse stays open. The St. Jacob's Playhouse stays open. The Schoolhouse Theater, which is now called the Hildebrand Schoolhouse Theater, will stay open through Christmas. And our Panto, the last 2 years, has extended into the new year. It's so successful.
I have to take a little side exit here just for a moment. For the people that might not know, before we get into everything, what is a panto so they know what a panto is?
Great. Yeah, sure. A panto is a British tradition, usually done around Christmas time, where you take a well-known fairy tale and modernize it through modern music. So all the characters you know and love, but they're you sing Lady Gaga and Whitney Houston and Elton John, or whatever suits the show's themes. And there's lots of interaction. There's lots of singing along, clap along, boo the villain. And
So it's a real interactive experience.
yeah, and Alex brought them, 15 years ago, maybe now, to the area. And they're wildly popular, creating lots of family memories. And
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So, for example, you said Cinderella panto, I
That's
believe?
right, yeah.
So in the Cinderella panto, there would still be the Wicked Stepsisters and a Cinderella,
Yep.
but they would be singing songs.
That's right. They're singing things like Material Girl by Madonna, and whatever. When You Believe, the Whitney Houston ballad, is when she transforms. And we've got some great contemporary songs this year. Benson Boone is in there, and songs that you've heard on the radio for a while. So yeah, it's a joy to work on.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure everybody knew what that was.
That's really smart. Yep.
Not everybody knows what a panto is, so
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah.
Now let's get back to, so we've got all the theaters open. It is chaos across Ontario. You're trying to herd cats, it feels like, I'm certain. What shows can people get excited about seeing this summer?
Well, again, there is something for everyone. If you're in the mood for a review show, like the best of some kind of music, we have a show called Yesterday Once More, which is 70s music. We have a John Denver review. We have a Beehive.
A
show.
John Denver review.
It's called Country Roads.
There you go.
Yeah, it's all John Denver music. A wonderful show.
Awesome.
And
Where's that going to be?
that's going to be in Drayton. And we have a show called Beehive, which is all girls' music from the 60s. It kind of traces that decade from, the Shangri-Las and the Supremes all the way up to people like Joni Mitchell and Tina Turner. And so if you're in that mood, if that's your era, great. Those are pure entertainment. You leave happy. And then I guess the other side of that coin is that we're doing Misery. So we're also doing, people know that Kathy Bates movie. We're doing the stage version of that. Witness for the Prosecution is a very famous, much loved kind of whodunit, Agatha Christie whodunit. We've got comedies. We've got a farce called Liars at a Funeral. Over the River and Through the Woods is happening. And then we have our musicals, which are, as is always the case, these big, splashy, gorgeous song and dance. Crazy for You is the Gershwin musical, lots of tap dancing. Shrek is happening. Jesus Christ Superstar, the Andrew Lloyd Webber mega musical hit, is happening. I have a cheat sheet, so I don't want to forget anything.
I think I saw that Grease.
Oh, Grease. Yes, Grease is coming to 2 theaters. There's a great play called Halfway There. The Crooner is back. If anybody saw that, it's Michael Van Hevel. He's an incredible singer that sings kind of in that Frank Sinatra, Michael Bublé vibe. And not to be missed. What else? Evita is another Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.
Yeah, that's exactly
How did you guys
right.
land all these Andrew Lloyd Webber productions this year? Wow.
Yeah, through luck. I mean, we've been, again, Alex tries and tries for shows like Jesus Christ Superstar for years, but it was on tour and it was coming to Toronto, or even if it comes as close as Buffalo, we can't do it because of geography and rights and things. So we finally got it. He's really excited about that. So we have a show called Sound of Soul. And then at the Hildebrand Schoolhouse Theater, which is our small, intimate, if people haven't been there, it's wonderful. It's a 100-seat, very intimate kind of cabaret.
Yeah, it's almost like dinner theater without the dinner.
Yeah, no, but there's a place to put your drink and
Yeah.
little tables, and you feel like you're really part of the action. That this season they're doing $1 Million Quartet, which is an incredible show about the record company that produced Sam Phillips produced Elvis, and this wonderful group of Jerry Lee Lewis, and it's going to be great in that space. And then there's a play called Flight Risk, and then a Christmas show called Plaid Tidings, which is Forever Plaid, but the Christmas version. So it's all in our season brochure, which you should get a copy of because it has all of your information is on the website.
Now tell everybody, how can they get a copy of this lovely brochure?
Right. Well, you can, all of the information is on the website, DraytonEntertainment.com, or you can call our box office, 1-855 Drayton.
We're going to put it up on the screen.
You'll put it up on the screen. And just ask for one. They'll happily mail one out to you. But it tells you information about all the shows, and it tells you information about all the theaters. It has seating maps, so you can decide where you want to sit. And the box office will happily guide you through packages. Some people like to do a tour of different theaters. But there's always wonderful... no matter when or where, there's something for you. So.
And you can always check out Drayton Entertainment. Just Google Drayton Entertainment.
.com.
It's easily findable.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of packages. There's a full schedule of the lineup.
Yeah.
But some really exciting programs coming up. So it's Elvis, Johnny Cash, and Carl Perkins.
Carl Perkins, yeah.
Okay, and you're doing that at the Hildebrand Theater.
Yeah.
So think about that, everybody. How often do you get to sit in the room with Johnny Cash, Elvis, and Carl Perkins and listen to them perform?
Yeah. It's an incredible story.
In an intimate setting. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. It's based on a true event where they were all historically together in one recording studio for one night only.
Sun Recording Studios in Memphis, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
And is that an original production to Drayton? Again, I asked this question because I know there's a lot of theater companies out there who do, like you said, they buy the rights, they put on plays. But beyond that, Drayton Entertainment, you guys write a lot of your own stuff too.
We do, yep. This one pre-existed. This was on Broadway for a good while.
I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah.
What plays, are there any plays this summer that you're producing that are original Drayton Entertainment?
The Country Roads John Denver show is original to Ontario. It's not original to Drayton, but it is an original piece that you wouldn't have seen anywhere else, unless. Yeah, and the Yesterday Once More, which is our 70s show. And then Sound of Soul is completely original to Drayton, and The Crooner is completely original to Drayton. So that's Alex actually getting together with the artists to develop the best. He knows his audience better than anybody, so they just kind of craft and customize, in both of those cases, review shows that they think will entertain.
Well, that's great. Now, for an evening at Drayton, how much can people expect to spend?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, you can afford to go as a family, which is always our, the shows downtown Toronto are wonderful. I just don't know how a family affords to do it. I just don't know how a family of four even can afford those 4 tickets plus parking, plus if you want something to eat, plus you're going to buy a drink at intermission. Like, it just feels like an investment. And I'm not saying it's not worth it, but we try to counteract that with really reasonable ticket prices that are tiered. We have nights that are discounted. If you come to a preview, it's less expensive than after it opens. So there's a really great range. Let me see.
I know you're not in charge of the finances.
No. I'm sure it says in here. I don't want to mislead you. So our regular performance single ticket is $59.50, which for the scale and scope of what we do compared to what you're paying in other markets is pretty extraordinary.
Which is literally in the hundreds.
Yeah. It's over $100 for most places. There are discount dates that bring you to $48.50. Youth under 20, $36.50. If you come in a group, you're going to get a discount. And then there's lots of opportunities.
So many options, and you can buy packages as well.
That's exactly right.
And you can become a season ticket member.
You can become a member. Yeah, membership is a wonderful thing. It gives you first access to a lot of things. So again, all of those details are on our website.
And yeah, so there's just so many ways for people to get involved. You guys have, it sounds like they're just a fantastic lineup for the summer. I know I'll be attending some shows. I'm not going to say which ones.
Okay.
I don't want to pick one out as a favorite.
Okay, but what is it if you had to pick?
I'd probably go see Grease.
Okay, cool.
I was at my high school. That was the last high school play I was ever in. I was in Grease. I played Eugene, which was the high school nerd. And still living up to the billing.
We're not going to ask proof of that? Is
there
a video? Is there a photo?
Oh, no, this was the 90s. There was no video. But
okay.
But I fit the bill. I was awkward and couldn't dance, had no rhythm. I was perfect for the role.
That is so funny.
It was. I would probably want to go see that again and just see that production, because not everybody knows that the theater production was modified, and it's not exactly the same as what came out in the 1970s with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John as a movie.
That's true.
There are some differences.
Yep.
But I love the music in that show. I think it's a really fun play to watch. So if I was only going to see one, I would see that one.
Okay.
The show with Johnny Cash and Carl Perkins and Elvis, I think would be a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
And it's a nice intimate night.
Yep.
If you like that style of music, which I do, I think that's something that would be really good.
That's $1 Million Quartet. So we have an understudy for Grease.
Okay.
Right? That's you. Right. So that's a good bonus of doing this interview. I can file that in my head. And who of the $1 Million Quartet boys would you understudy of those 3?
Oh, jeez. Would I understudy?
Yeah.
I would want to be the king.
Okay. Okay, good to know. Great.
But no, John Denver too. I'm a big John Denver fan. I was quite surprised by that.
Okay.
That might be worth the drive to Drayton.
It absolutely is.
It's always worth the drive to Drayton, just in case anybody wondered.
Yeah, it's true.
I want to just ask a couple more questions. So I'm a small business owner, so I'm always fascinated by business. What really impresses me is numbers, and as much as I love the artistic side, and I think that's important, numbers really impressed me as well. And I saw you guys put over 250,000 bums in seats every single year. Again, this goes back to this hustler culture that was perpetuated by your founder, Alex Moustakis. And I can't help but want to compare that to the largest theater in our city. We have the Center in the Square, it's just a few blocks from here, right? Beautiful, beautiful building. This building, I was reading recently, I'm a municipal politics honk as well. They received $4 million in renovations for the building just 4 years ago. They got another $800,000 a year ago to receive in funding. And they receive an operating grant from the city of Kitchener at $2.16 million a year to operate the Center in the Square. I can't help but think, what could Drayton do if they were given that kind of an operating budget? Because I was looking at their program, and they're trying, but I don't think that they're getting the same level of shows that you guys are doing. Have you guys ever even considered, has the city ever come to you and said, would you guys like to take over the Center in the Square?
I cannot say. What I can say to that is there is room for everybody, and there are very different models of they don't produce theater. Like the Center in the Square is a roadhouse essentially, and so they present theater. They present tours that come through town, and they'll play for one night or two nights or at the most a week, and so there is room for that heavily government funded model. Drayton isn't that. Drayton is supported by its community. And, for example, our when the lights went out in COVID, we had 7 theaters that were not operating. That's a lot of real estate. That's a lot. If you're talking upwards of 250,000 tickets, that didn't happen. Surprisingly, there was no ramp up to that for any of us, right? For anyone in the world. But 7 theaters is a lot of theaters. And so shortly into that, we started an online 50-50.
You guys ran the best 50-50 program in the province, maybe the country.
Well, it was... it's what saved us. It was our donors, supporters, community members that said, "Hey, we've got you. It's an emotional thing." They were like, "Don't worry. Like, and we raised millions of dollars. Through that 50-50.
You may not know this.
You won.
But no, I wish.
Okay.
I did buy tickets, but I am a member of the Rotary Club, as I think you know.
Yeah.
And I was on the committee for the Rotary Catch the Ace KW lottery.
Okay.
So we were running a Catch the Ace KW program, trying to get people to buy tickets similarly to support local charities.
Yeah.
But I couldn't hold a candle to you guys. I was killing myself, pulling my hair out, trying to keep up with the Drayton Festival lottery.
Yeah.
You guys crushed it. And it was... You had that subscription base. What I mean by this, you have your patrons that love what you do, and we're like, listen, I'll buy as many lottery tickets as you need me to, so long as you keep those doors open as soon as this, pandemic thing is over. Yeah. And you guys did a great job for sure.
It was very inspiring and very grassroots. It was just real evidence that Alex's blueprint from day one is still very much alive and well.
Yeah, and so. I can't help but admire the management that you guys put together. It's not just your artistic performances that impress me. It's also your management and the way you guys handle things. So I always think if I was part of Kitchener City Council, one of my first items of business would be to approach Drayton Entertainment and say, can you take over this theater for us, please? Because I just think you guys could do so much with that. And that's my personal feeling. And I don't think we'd have to give you as many millions. You'd want them, but I just think you could do such a great job because of the work you are doing. Now, I know we have a hard stop on today, so I don't want to keep you too long, but I want to make sure that you have told everybody everything that you want to, like, if there's any message you want to get out to the people that are listening that you feel like we're not talking about.
Wow, I did a lot of talking, so thank you for listening. Thank everybody for listening to
You've done
that
awesome.
much talking. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of shows.
It's a great story.
It's a lot of hardworking people. You know, that's the other thing about theater that we're not. You know, it's not an assembly line. It's not like every single show is a new set of challenges and triumphs, you know, and you would think it kind of becomes cookie cutter, but it is never that. There's always an emergency. There's always somebody who gets sick or gets pregnant or gets something, you know, so we're always kind of reacting to the humanity of what makes live theater so exciting. And I think that's what keeps everyone so well engaged there is that every day is a new set of surprises, and that when you're watching live theater as opposed to something like Netflix, anything can happen.
Anything.
Like they can forget their line, they can come on with the wrong wig or the wrong shoes or the, you know, like it's like figure skating, kind of, right? Like there's a piece of you, just a tiny slice of you that's like something could go wrong. And so that
You don't want it to go
you
wrong.
don't, but there's something adrenalizing
Yeah.
about the possibility. And so everybody shoulders that. Everybody, and as you say, it's not just artistic, but we have, you know, hundreds of people. When we're at a peak season, we contract over 400 artists, stage managers, musicians, people who are sewers, dressers, like everybody that makes it happen. And so the tree, the pyramid of support is so positive. It's so energetic and community minded. And so anyway, shout out to them. Shout out to
everybody that gets involved.
Shout out to our ushers, to our volunteers, to the people who are cleaning up things in the aisles that maybe they don't want to be cleaning up. You know, like there's babies or whatever's happening, and you know, 7 theaters is a lot of spaces, so there's somebody taking care of, you know, the AC unit or the this lighting fixture or whatever is going on. It's always
To make anything work,
yeah.
it takes so many small components, and it's
Yeah.
and the devil is in the details,
Yeah.
right?
And it's
I talked to my wife about this. You know, there's 10,000 parts in a car,
yeah.
and there's engineering upon engineering in every single vehicle
Yeah.
to make it perfect, to make it hug to the road.
yeah.
But if your FM radio doesn't work for 2 minutes,
You lose your
oh,
mind.
this car's a piece of junk, man.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And
Yeah.
people can go to school. You can go to theater school for 7 years, voice classes,
Yeah.
trained in the opera. If the air conditioning isn't working in that building,
No,
it was the worst performance I have ever.
No, it's true. It's true. And you're thinking, like, there are hundreds of people, you know, on one night, we'll have thousands of patrons who are coming on the wrong day, who came to the wrong theater. Like, just law of large numbers, like, just says that the people who are working with us to create this magic are incredible.
But you have people who
ambassadors.
come to the theater on the wrong day
Absolutely.
or to the wrong theater.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Wow. I never thought of
Yeah. Yeah.
I never gave that consideration.
Yeah, but everybody, you know, just handles it with a smile and compassion, and again, top down understanding that we are here to serve.
It reminds me of something I think I saw online, which made me laugh, which was like, if you think you're having a bad day today, just know that there's a special desk at the airport in Vienna for people who flew to Austria by accident, thinking they were going to Australia.
Right.
It's
Right.
the same thing. People,
Love that.
yeah.
Love that.
David, thank you so much for coming by today to sit down. This has been an awesome conversation. I wish you unbridled success all summer long. I hope everything goes off perfectly.
Thank you.
And that the Drayton Entertainment Company has a great summer. For the record, the only other thing that I almost forgot to mention was I want to thank Drayton Entertainment for their partnership with myself and the Knights of Columbus in the upcoming 8th Annual KW Trivia Challenge.
Yay.
So for those who don't know, in the upcoming Trivia Challenge, the championship team, the winning team that gets the most question right, each member of that team has been donated 2 tickets to any production that Drayton is putting on anywhere in the province. That is part of the prize. That in and of itself is worth $800, maybe $1,000 actually, based on the prices you just gave me. So you've got $1,000 value for the winning team, not to mention you win the Challenge Cup, not to mention you win entry into next year's event. Not to mention, you're going to have the greatest night. It's the second best night out there after Drayton Entertainment. And it's all in support of Tiny Home Takeout this year. So thank you again for supporting us for that.
Our pleasure.
And I really am thankful. It's been a wonderful talk.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you get back to work now.
I appreciate you letting us spread the word. Thanks.
Thank you, David.
So good.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.